Welcome to It's Good to Talk, this summer edition. I'm your host, Emma McLean, and I want to try something a little different. I want to use this limited edition series to focus on the most important person in your life, and that is yourself. I want to create the space for you to think, for you to reflect, and space for you to plan what you want from 2026. Let's get into it. Hey, it's your friend Emma. Today we're going to talk about change. It's something that so many of my coaching clients come to me in a roundabout way for, that there's some kind of change they want in their life and they're feeling kind of stuck. They know they don't like their job, but they don't know what they do want to do. Plus, they do need to earn money. They know they feel really overwhelmed at home, but it feels very hard to change it. You know, they might need to change how they're living, what they do with their spare time, if they have any. But this idea of change, right? I remember I saw this very funny cartoon once, and it was two pictures of like a lecture theatre. And there was a lecturer up the front and he said, "Who here knows they need to change?" And everyone puts their hand up. And then the next picture is, "Who wants to change?" And there's no hands up. So, I mean, I get it, right? Change is hard. We know we want it, but do we want to do anything different to get it? Maybe not. It feels hard. So today what I want to talk about is my experience of change, what I've learnt about how to change something in your life, and really want to share a little bit more of my story to do that, in the hope that it is helpful for others. And the reason why I thought this would be an interesting topic is a lot of people ask me, people that might know me or people that have been coached by me, they'll say to me, "Emma, how did you change your life?" Because when I look back on my life 5 years ago, I have actually completely changed it. I have changed the job I'm doing. I have changed my relationship status. I was married. I am now not. And I've lost 20 kilos as well. And this is not about the weight. This is about me wanting to intentionally change things in my life. And how did I get there? Because, it won't happen overnight, but it will happen. So let me share my story of change. So I think if there are things in your life that you think you want to change, but you don't really know how to go about it, trust in the universe. Trust that there is a plan for you. One of the very first sort of experiences I remember was a long, long time ago, possibly when I was 40. I'm now 53. The head of people at the firm that I worked for was training to be a coach. And she said, "Can I coach you, to get some hours on my coaching sort of practice?" And I'm like, "Of course." And one of the exercises she got me to do was to write my own obituary, can't say it. And I know that sounds really morbid, but what it was excellent at doing was getting you to zoom up out of your story and to think, how do I want my life to be remembered? And I just found that so useful, and you can do it in sort of like blocks of family, community, career, self, children, whatever it is you want to do. And I made mine quite funny. Like it starts off by saying, Emma McLean passed away while watching Taylor Swift's live stream 85th birthday celebrations from Nashville. That's just me. But it was a really useful tool to help me think about, what do I want from my life? And, what do I want from really whatever you think's important to you. But for me, like, I looked at fitness and health and fitness, and I might have, one of the things I put on it, I think, was Emma and her partner enjoyed walking every day for fitness, and that's exactly what we do. So when I look back on this stuff, it's almost like it's a form of manifestation, as writing this obituary. It talked about, what I wanted to do professionally, the impact I wanted to create. I mean, at that point, didn't have coaching on the agenda, did not have becoming an entrepreneur on my agenda, did not have becoming a working parent advocate or a podcaster on my agenda. But I did have Emma spend her life empowering women to be the best that they can be in whatever the way they want to define that. And I feel like in a lot of ways I am living that. And, I think it's a really good tool to figure out what you really want. There's things in there that haven't happened. I think I said I went on a safari with my children, but I haven't. But if you don't know what you want, but you know that there's something else for you in your life, try writing your own obituary. I can't say that correctly, but I'm just going to keep saying it. So that was one of the things, and I've actually kept that, and I look back at it often. It's a very important artifact for me. I would say with that, write it for yourself. Don't write it for anyone else to read, because I knew that my coach was going to be reading it. And so there were some things I remember at the time not wanting to write because I didn't want anyone to know that thought that I had. So I think for them to be really effective, write them for yourself. Be beautifully, beautifully honest. So if you don't know, what you want to do to change, start by thinking, what would your 95-year-old self want for you? What kind of relationship would they want? What kind of, career? What kind of involvement in the community? What kind of holidays? I mean, what's the important stuff in your life? Health and fitness, friendships. What are those things? What would your future self want for you? I think that's a really good exercise if you're thinking that you want to change, but you don't know what that looks like. And then my second experience of change that I wanted to share was that I guess I got really curious about what I wanted when later on in my life, I actually did hire a coach to support me when I was thinking about what next for my career, because I really was finding it hard to be the family operational manager for a family of 5 and a dog and hold down a senior full-time job. And even though I love my job, and this is the complicated nature of life, so I recruited a coach, and I remember this moment like it was yesterday. I was sitting in her kitchen. I had a cup of tea in my hand, and she looked across to me and she said to me, "What do you want?" And I said, "What do you mean? What do you mean? What do I want?" She just smiles at me and she goes, "What do you want?" And I'm like, no, give it some context, put a frame around it. I'm a very I like giving the right answer. I like giving the perfect answer. And there was no context. I was like, "I don't know what you mean. What do you mean? What do I want?" And so she said, "Well, okay, if we had takeaways tonight, what would you want for takeaways?" And I said, "To be honest, I don't care. Whatever everyone else wants. If I don't have to cook, it's a win." No, what do you want for takeaways tonight?" she said to me. And I'm like, "Oh, look, I really don't care. I'll eat anything. Whatever anyone else wants, that's fine with me." "No, Emma, what do you want for takeaways?" And at this point, I got very angry with her because I didn't understand what she was trying to help me understand. I left the coaching session. I don't think I stormed out. Let's be clear, I'm not a storming out person. But I was driving home and I was like, oh, Emma. Oh, Emma. I know what she was trying to help you to understand. And that is, if I don't know what I want for takeaways tonight, how can I know anything else about what I want in my life? If I can't hear my inner voice, what I call my inner GPS, around what I want for takeaways, how am I going to know what I want for a job? What I want for a relationship? What I want for myself? And that was a big aha moment in my life. What do you want? And so, if you're looking for change this year, this question of what do you want, it's not a trivial question. It sounds simple, but it can be really hard. I mean, what I realized was, I had spent decades wallpapering over my needs for other people's needs. So much so that I couldn't even hear them. And it actually scared me. It actually meant I had no anchor. I had no anchor, no filter to look at opportunities, decisions, crossroads, because I had surrendered everything to other people. And I don't think that's an uncommon experience. I don't have any shade on myself because I did what I did, and that is what I did. But it was pretty scary for me because I'd always thought of myself as quite a confident boss type person, and I didn't know what I wanted for myself. So that was a big catalyst for change, that I figured out that I didn't even know what I wanted. And so I decided to get curious about how I could listen, start to hear my inner voice again. And coincidentally, that all just coincided with March, April 2020, when we went into a COVID-19 lockdown. And really why that's relevant is that, when we had those level 4 lockdowns, it was probably the first time in my life where I was just at home. There were no distractions. There were no, I'm just going to drop Henry at hockey, or I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. It was just like home. And I remember reading Untamed by Glennon Doyle, which is a fantastic book if you are looking for change. Although, spoiler alert, Adele did read that book and then left her marriage. So just putting that out there. And Glennon talks about the fact that, when you can get rid of distractions out of your life, and I know children aren't distractions, but they are convenient sometimes when you don't really want to think about stuff that's important to you. She said, she felt like sometimes she was living her life in a snow globe that was all shaken up. And that in times of, I would use the kind of time of a lockdown where you are at home, the snow settles. It's not flying around in the air anymore. And you can kind of stand up and take a look around and figure out, where am I? And do I want, what's happening here? You can think clearly. So I guess my first thing for me to listen to my inner voice was to try to find time for myself, to get rid of what I would call distractions, or things that look like they're really important, but are they? The things that were distracting me from what was important to me. And that is whether that was going for a walk by myself without my phone or any headphones. It's a really good way for me to hear my inner voice. Just sitting in the garden with a coffee, with no phone. Start to hear your inner voice, because if you want to change but you don't know what, you actually do. The only person that knows what you want is you. but you need to provide space to hear that voice. So, yeah, get rid of distractions. That really worked for me. I also think the other thing that worked for me when I was, in a process of transformation, really, is that I would do different things. If you want different thoughts, you need to do different things. I think it's always ironic when companies they'll issue a big edict saying that they want more innovative thinking or come up with better ideas, but we're all still just working away in the same cubicles. It's like you'll never have a new idea if you sit at the same desk next to the same people every day. And so what can you do in your life to kind of switch it up? Whether that's sometimes if you drive to work, get the bus to work a couple of days. If you get the bus to work, get off at a different stop. If you do walks, go on different routes. I was fascinated when we were in the lockdowns, I used to do a specific route around my local area. And because so many people were walking and you didn't really want to see people you knew or see people, full stop. There was too many people walking that route. So I had to change my route. And I had different thoughts. I walked a different way and I had different thoughts. And for me, that was real evidence that if you want change, you need to get off your guinea pig wheel that you're in, day out, do different things. And, look, I think your ideas and your inner voice will come in the most unlikely places. I often have been to a seminar or a conference or even like going to like a local community meeting on town planning or something. I know my life sounds exciting, doesn't it? But when I go to those things, often what I get is not the subject of the thing I've been to hear. It's me being able to think about different perspective. I went to something the other day and it was kind of boring, but I actually, in my notepad, smashed out a whole chapter in my book, just handwritten it, because I had this space in my brain because I was being exposed to something new. So that works for me for change. Look, I think if you really want change in your life, but you don't really know what that is, getting a coach is a really good idea, but also a therapist. Part of my change in the last 5 years where I have made some of the biggest, hardest decisions of my life, I have done with the support of someone supporting me as a therapist. And she saved my life. Like we were never meant to do this alone. Who's your team you're going to surround yourself with to help you figure out what this change looks like? So I can really recommend therapy. I think it's a fantastic thing to do. It's space for you to be really real with yourself. I did a whole lot of different things to get change in my life. I did breathing classes. I did cold water swimming. Now I'm going to sound like some kind of an Instagram meme. Bear in mind, for everyone who's listening to this that's got young children, I have older children. I have more time in my day. So that was a privilege for me that I could do this stuff. I joined a tennis club. Again, boy, that was scary because I knew no one there. But you know what? Doing scary stuff is how you know you're moving forward, is how you know you are going to be thinking new thoughts. And so all of this has been part of my change, exposing myself to new, different experiences, different people. So if you really want change this year, what are you going to do differently? What are you going to do differently to start to hear your inner voice? And then the kind of last thing that I think is important if you want change is to surround yourself with people that believe in you. Because, I think if you don't believe in yourself, which sometimes it's really hard to do, believe the people that believe in you and listen to them and don't fob it off. For a long, long time, many people close to me who had worked with me for years, friends who I'd known for years, said to me, "You should be a coach." And for many, many years, I said, no, I shouldn't. What do you mean? And then I started listening to them. I think, if you don't think you can do it, but other people do, what if you believed them? What if you believed the good stuff in your life? That is another good practice. Believe the good stuff. So I just wanted to do a very quick sort of how can you change? Whatever change you want in your life. First of all, the person that knows what you want is you. So start listening to your inner voice. Start uncovering those years of wallpaper that may be wallpapered over your inner voice. Get rid of the distractions. Find time for yourself. Do different things. Remember that cartoon I shared at the beginning. Who knows they need to change? Who wants to change? If you want to change, you'll need to do different things. You can't think yourself out of a pickle. It's goodness, it's tempting at the moment. There's all these online courses you can buy. I saw one and it's from a divorce coach, and it was like, buy our course to figure out whether you should stay or you should go. And I just want you to know that the only person that knows whether you should stay or you should go is you. And a course is not the answer. It's about hearing your voice. It's the same with people that, guarantee to, show you what your perfect job is. I mean, that's cool. It's all information, but you are the person that knows. No one else knows your story. No one else knows your pain, your potential. You do. So start listening to your inner voice, do different things, and surround yourself with people that believe in you. I hope you enjoyed today. If you did, please forward it to a friend. Reach out to me. Let me know if any of this was useful. Tune in next week. We've got another episode coming. Onwards and upwards. If you enjoyed this week's episode of the summer edition of It's Good to Talk, please forward it to a friend who you think would also enjoy it. If you've got any other feedback, I'd love to hear from you. Send me a message on Instagram, Works for Everyone, or on LinkedIn, Emma McLean. Connect with me, send me a message. I'd love to know what you're all thinking about this. This podcast was 100% funded by me and my business, Works for Everyone. We are a professional development agency that partners with leading New Zealand businesses to help retain and grow their working parent talent. We do that through executive coaching, keynote speaking, and workshops. Hope you're having a lovely summer. Onwards and upwards.